I'm Erzhen, and today I'm going to share some projects around this reality across dimensions in virtual communication with AI and XR. So a brief intro about myself. I'm Erzhen. I'm now a PhD candidate in computer science at the University of Virginia, working on human-computer interaction. So I mainly publish in HCI venues, including like CHI, CSW, and WIST. Now I also hold some internships in industry at Microsoft Research, Google, and Autodesk Research. So during this talk, it's not like super structured, so you can interrupt me anytime. I will share like 2 projects mainly and the backstory behind it. And I will also extend each with some future work and application areas for discussion. So so I hope you will be interested in some of these topics or find some of those you are absolutely not interested in. So my work focused mostly on this synchronous communication, like through spoken language, sign language, and long before that through artifacts. So those are fundamentally synchronous form of communication because they rely on co-presence in time, right? Like speakers and listeners must be engaged simultaneously for meaning to emerge. And we also started like creating physical objects to help communicate better. Like around 40,000 years ago, our ancestors they began painting on cave walls. And these weren't just pretty pictures. They were visual aids for storytelling, for teaching, and for preserving knowledge. So this can be like a way, like because those objects created with tools that carry meanings beyond the moment of interaction. So the collaboration around those artifacts may not be synchronous. But fast forward to present, the technology has transformed communication in many ways. We use video conferencing like Zoom for work meetings, and today we use like Discord for those community chat. And looking back like 20 or 30 years ago, when video conferencing wasn't ubiquitous, like researchers in media space, they were already exploring these questions, and they investigate how people might adopt video-based communication by living with video across different sites. And also they treat those as their like everyday experience. Basically, they take notes on how they use video conferencing. And there are another way to achieve this co-presence, that's through replicating and mimicking what we have in the physical world into a virtual world. And like in VR headset, in those spaces, people can annotate on whiteboards, they can use sticky notes to brainstorm and collaborate across different locations, whether through like VR headsets and even desktop interfaces, or like you see this person is joining from Zoom and some person is joining from like a website, of VR or AR glasses. So for example, this work in vGather, they try to like do it in a different way, right? They use some computer vision methods to kind of extract person's facial expression and their gestures, and try to recreate this embodied experience in the virtual environment. So basically, this person joining from the physical space can still be seen as like an avatar in the virtual space, so that the remote user who wear the VR headset can still see like this person's virtual body, although he didn't wear any like VR headset. So we also see like aside from like more formal and professional workspace conversations, we see some more like informal, unfocused interactions in platforms like VR chat, where people socialize there and bump each other with friends and strangers. And also, because AI and sensing is moving so fast, it can be accessed through different levels of fidelity and representation. And for example, you can represent as a cartoonish avatar. You can think about yourself like in a hyper-realistic avatar using some 3D imaging methods or more high fidelity video. So for example, in this project, like a group of Microsoft researchers, they are looking to like, for example, in the future, you can be in any form of representations within the same conference environment. Like you can be joining with video, you can join with realistic avatar, you can join with cartoonish human or animal avatars. So there's like different ways people think about like those representations. And aside from like human representations, we also anticipate like using XR for a wide range of tasks such as project design, whiteboarding, and 3D object sharing. So my research incorporates starts from from like synchronous communication problems in video conferencing and XR domains, like for sharing objects in collaboration, and also focus on have another line of research focus on design systems that scale to more complex multi-party interactions while try to preserve those human nuances. So I will share two projects today. First, how can we meaningfully support communication by using AI to mediate with visual aids? And second is how can we design a conversation that can help people communicate better? So I will start with this first work, which is Into Reality, published in WIS 2025. So this is actually closely related to a previous project that we did before, which is ThinkShare. So I found some problems during online settings where it's not very smooth to reference like specific parts of objects during virtual meetings. And when we turn on our virtual background, those objects will disappear when moving those objects around. And moreover, like you need to hold it up to camera through this live video, and it can be challenging because remote users may not see it clearly without moving like really close to the camera. And also, if remote user wanted to point to this object, you can only do it in an ambiguous verbal way, like to the left and to the right, because the current tool does not support remote gestures. And this may result in multiple rounds of verbal communication. So our approach to this is we provide a person-centric sharing mode where user can casually share their personal belongings through their video feeds and without focusing on the fine details of the object, which can be more expressive. And additionally, we offer more task-centric sharing where objects can be shared in detail during focused discussions such as project reviews and hands-on training or design sessions. And you can also imagine like some background objects being corrupted to edit your virtual background. So this has been, there is a work, very interesting work where it tries to use some more recent models like generative AI models to combine two a person's virtual background together. Like for example, this person has this background, this person have that background. Oh, can you see my buzzer by the way?
Kind of going on and off.
Oh, okay. I think I should point here. Okay,
Oh, I see.
no worries. Yeah. So they try to combine this together in like a meaningful way with like stable diffusion models. Basically like preserving your original video, but turn it into like a full virtual background to create that co-presence experience. And also, you can turn on your virtual background in our work. So basically, you can choose to show object, or like you can choose to hide it so that no user won't see it anymore. So after finishing that project, when I tried to interact with VR environment, I was thinking about the problem like, what if we can turn those 2D content into like 3D spontaneously in the XR environment? And first is we can see the shared objects and screens are primarily like a lot of 2D objects, right? So like shared screens and also those 2D screens in the 3D environment. Furthermore, we can bring some pre-designed 3D objects to the meeting, but it cannot be created spontaneously. So there can be some quite limited choices. And meanwhile, there is those generative AI models, especially image to 3D methods that are becoming much more accessible, but they haven't been fully integrated in the real-time collaborative XR systems. In our system, like the Into Reality is an XR meeting platform where participants can bring in those objects from both digital searches and physical environments. So we also form several design goals. First is like we can generate 3D artifacts on the fly from 2D sources, but we were thinking about potential implications like or like challenges because by creating these 3D objects spontaneously, people may need to like examine like what's going on because these are newly created artifacts. So that also takes some time. And second is cohabitation, and third is transition. Basically, like you turn 2D objects into 3D, but you can also say like take snapshots of the 3D objects back to 2D with different perspectives. Basically, there's like multiple different objects in this workspace with both 2D and 3D dimensions happening together. So we wanted to know whether this flexibility of both cohabitation and transition will increase some friction for users. And that's also another part when we are concerned about when designing the system. So I will first show like how the system works. So here's the workflow look in practice. First, the user will search for something in web browser. And in this case, the user wants the frog hat. So second, the user can identify this object for interest using the raycaster stroke, which will identify this object's position and crop this out with segmentation models. And this cropped original image will be sent to the server, and the system will create 4 orthogonal views, like left, right, front, and back of the original image, which will be shown on this pie menu attached to the user's left hand. And after 1 more seconds, like the user will get this fused 3D Gaussian objects in the environment with a sphere proxy. So basically, you can manipulate and grab the rescale and move this object around. So finally, if you have this 3D object in the hand, you can capture some snapshots and project them onto this whiteboard for discussion and return from 3D to 2D formats. And they can kind of collaborate with remote partners on different variations back and forth. So here we also show that this physical environment side because we attach a camera on this VR headset, so we can also scan this object, although in a very low fidelity way. So here we show an example of user use both physical and digital objects, like search a planter from this digital space and then place it on the shelf captured from the physical office. And then they can also have a discussion on the whiteboard about this object. So we conducted like 2 user studies. The first study is like a usability evaluation with 12 participants. The main thing we want to test here is the usability and effectiveness of physical and digital inputs. So the finding is show that the physical objects was easier to scan and felt more realistic, but limited in variety. And digital sources were seen more flexible, but it's less accurate to estimate its scale in the virtual space. And furthermore, interacting with the web interface, because there's a lot of ads and buttons, it feels like creating some more friction than just like cropping objects from the physical image. And so overall, they think this can be useful and the fidelity can be ideal for early stage ideation, though they want higher fidelity for some other scenarios. So after validating this usability, we also ran a second exploratory study with 18 participants in pair and focused on this 2D to 3D and 3D to 2D workflow using digital inputs. So we designed tasks like casual avatar decoration to simulate social chat, and collaborative furniture layout to negotiate spatial arrangements, and also a multi-phase like toy pitch. Basically, you need to search object and brainstorming and also preparing visuals on the whiteboard together, like prepare to bring us a slide and then deliver a short presentation with the remote partner together. So one pattern we observed was the ownership of 3D objects. Like people treat these 3D objects they generate as part of their personal objects in space, rather than moving their partner's object. They negotiate really verbally. For example, here the users said, I wasn't sure whether this audio can be shared though.
Can you move your thing?
Can you hear anything from maybe there's...
I can, yes.
You can hear it?
I can hear it, yes.
Oh, okay. So basically this says
Can you move your thing?
Can you move your thing? So they treat this as like other person's thing if it is created by your remote partner. So also if the remote user didn't...
But this one is kind of human like stuff.
Yeah, it's the platform, like the street should transform into the car and warehouse stuff like yeah.
Yeah, so here,
Yes, if you need the car, I can provide you. It's nice.
so unless this user share it like this object to them, even if they can like manipulate with them, they seems to be really polite about like manipulating and moving the remote partner's object. So, but different from that, the 2D snapshots on the whiteboard was treated more like a shared space where they freely co-organize it and building stories together. So the second key findings is we found like participants use 3D object more during collaboration than in presentation phase, like in the 3 session where 3D object were used for presentation. 3D was powerful for demonstrating dynamics, for example, here.
It's very, as you can see on the picture, you can see two wheels there. So it's still soft, so it's not very rollable to the end. So it doesn't have to go all the way if the roll, but they can still kind of try doing a motion like on the ground. Trying rolling like this. They can also roll on the air, whichever they want to perform it.
So they try to use this to demonstrate some like dynamics, like moving this toy car. And also some pair, they will use like both formats seamlessly like together. For example, here, they wanted to share this 3D object, this octopus that can change from pink color to blue color. So they share this first and then point to like the 2D images on the whiteboard to try to do this storytelling. So we also asked them why, like during the interview, like why 2D was used more during the presentation, and participants, they like that 3D objects can be help communicate actions and interactions, but they feel like 2D can provide more organization and better organization. And also like using both 3D and 2D elements in presentation can enhance too much mental effort from the presenter, but it can be beneficial for audiences. So to summarize these findings from study 2, 3D objects encourage ownership and support exploratory intuitive collaboration. While we reflected it might be because that the interaction of those identifying and searching on web browser provides a sense of ownership that this object belongs to the creator. Whereas maybe in the future we can create some more speech-generated 3D objects might enforce this sense of a shared artifact. And 2D snapshots were better for aligning perspectives. And more importantly, like this hybrid workflow combined the strengths of both, and it can be helping enabling richer storytelling and flexible teamwork. So from our study, we also learned that people have some different collaboration strategies around when to use 2D and 3D. And we also would the system, like when generating those 3D artifacts based on some visual appearance of 2D images, but it's not very effective when like the image or like if your idea is too abstract, like some abstract ideas, even if you use verbal input, it can be really hard to create like the kind of a tangible form of object. And finally, like it also shows some potential of generative AI in supporting collaboration, but it's not adapt to like certain scenarios that require precision, like medical education. So here, some small extension from this work is thinking about like a future how we not only like for we as users to live and work with XR, but also think about some other application areas where we can envision those visuals and objects can be important. So here I would share some stories around like creative collaboration. So this was an experience where I made me interested in simulation and like 3D environment during my internship at Autodesk Research. So they have like some product around like creating those, CAD models of 3D objects. And also they have another part is related to media and entertainment. They have like products around, filmmaking, like kind of 3D animation for filmmakers. So, so before that, although before this internship, I really like that, like VR and games. I enjoy really, doing social interaction in VR chat. But I believe a lot of meetings and conversations can be hosted into the video conferencing. But this is like a project where I've never thought about, because I feel like 3D can help a lot in this scenario, because in this kind of task like filmmaking, the team collaboration problem, it requires a lot of communication during filmmaking and a lot of like collaboration efforts. This is because like people during those production stages, you can imagine like before live production stage. So live production stage is when people really start to film this video, and like they move this camera this and there, and also actors are on set, right? But before that, there can be some pre-production stage where people think about how to plan this filming, how to place the camera, and how to think about the storytelling, and also writing the script. So it happens like either like simultaneously, or like different people take part in different part of it. And there are different techniques that can help you pre-produce. Like for example, this AR technique. So it's not only for pre-production, but it can also help you like do live production, because you just need a green screen, and then you can have a 3D environment here. And with like some actors, you can create like a quick video, quickly preview what's gonna going on in this mobile phone or iPad here with augmented reality. And another way is you can do it fully virtual, like you can reconstruct a whole 3D space, and you put like those dolly avatars in the space, and then you can try to place cameras in the 3D space, and you can think about how to author. And in filmmaking, because people need to, sometimes they need to build some 3D environments, especially in some large production space. Some things are difficult to find in the physical environment, and they can build some, those environments, and then using 3D, and they can also communicate around. Like some people are, wearing this headset, and some people can join from Zoom, and they can look at, okay, how are we gonna place those cameras in this space? And people also have tried to use VR, like for those virtual scout. Basically, especially during COVID, because everything went virtual and you can't go to the physical set. And going to the physical set usually a lot of time and money involved. So if they can like just browse what's basically those key props and the environment in the virtual environment, then they can like do it remotely. They don't need to go to the physical set, and to also that spend a lot of money. So in this project, we kind of think about another problem, is that if there is this 3D environment that we can pre-produce and preset those cameras, what if we can like restyle it with some generative AI methods? And then we were thinking about maybe we can build a really low fidelity 3D environment, because modeling it in 3D also need like expertise and also need some money. So I can show you like a briefly about this, but later I can share this slide, so you can look back to this video. So this is a paper that to appear at CHI. So basically what we did is we created like an interface where it has a 3D environment, where you can just put some really low fidelity objects inside. And then you can try to, put some cameras in this space and try to editing videos. Like for example, here you can edit avatar movement and camera movement, and you can try to preview this in this space. You can add in this camera view like this way, and you can preview this playback here. Then we are trying to use some generative video or generative image models first, because we wanted to first define how this image would look like in the style, right? So we also experiment with some different resemblance of images. Like for example, if I scroll this a bit, here. So I can make it like more close to the original image. This is actually not the one. Okay. Oh, maybe I can share it. Oh, it's here. Sorry about this. So you can make it more relevant to the original 3D environment, but more restylized. You can make it more creative, but kind of keep something in the frame. You can also make it very different from the original style. And also you can make this even the structure different. And then after we fix this first frame, we exported this movement, which is also defined in the 3D environment. So, and then we use this image within that movement to create like a video that can show kind of this atmosphere in the space. Yeah. Also, we show like you can use different style, like you can make it cartoonish, and also you can control it not only with 3D environment movement, but also with some external videos to customize the character movement in the space. So you can kind of show those more granular movements, and also like this person can move in the 3D space. So there's both like rough movement and those more granular movements, so that I get an image that this two person is actually having some granular ones, and this person is actually moving really robotically to the background. So we also experiment this with filmmakers. So they try to create those like pre-visualization during the user study. So those are just some videos around some study sessions that we conduct with different styles and with different external videos. So yeah. So if you're interested, you can after I share this slides in the channel, you can revisit this video. So also this has a mixed reality implication, because at first I wanted to do it in like a mixed reality way, but usually those research internships only give us like 3 to 4 months. So it's tough to like, if I want both AI and augmented reality, and we may need to some space, so it can be difficult. But I can I also saw some related work here, like for example this work from West 2025. It's a mixed reality environment, and it's actually using, like for example, you see this physical environment, right? But you can imagine using those generative video and image methods to restyle it in like a different style. And also like for virtual space, originally this can be static, but you can use videos to make it, like for example this fire, to be more dynamic. So this is in a different setting. It's not in filmmaking, but more of using mixed reality to create concept videos, like for branding and for ads. So this can be interesting to check out. So going back to this outline, I will share like a second project, which is more around how we can design a conversation that can help people communicate better. So this is also like an idea began in my earlier project, where I wanted to study larger group meetings with 6 people. But instead of recruiting 6 humans, which adds a lot of randomness, I built like a more controlled setup, 1 human interacting with 5 virtual agents. And to do so, I actually I found it's really tedious. I first generate like a script, and I assign them to distinct voices. And I also use motion capture for like gestures and their lip sync to make the scene more immersive. I also add like a recording and replay features, so participants could review the conversation from different perspectives. And this could be really difficult and fragmented for like this design of multi-party conversations with AI. So, and it's also something that educators, healthcare workers, and others were like really struggle with. So originally, so this is like some other version of my system. Like I'm thinking about maybe we can design like a multi-party conversation conversation tool, where we can design like scripts and audios, and then scenes to make this setup of conversation more more like simpler, but this is like an early version, but later I drop it out because it's super messy and a really terrible user interface. So, but it's kind of like a first version of a later like dialogue lab project we later did. So first of all, like this multi-party conversation, why it is difficult to set up because there is a lot of things included there, like turn taking, roles, and subgroups and hierarchies. It's far beyond like one-on-one chat, and also it's hard to find a general tool to configure and test these dynamics or to rapidly prototype human AI conversations. And so we wanted to understand it better, like to understand the pain points in designing multi-party human AI conversations. So we interviewed like 7 experts across education, healthcare, sales, and also meetings who has experience in like creating such conversations. So they walk us through their workflows and challenges. So we found like 4 big challenges. First is the workflow were fragmented. Like people had to stitch together scripts, voices, and avatars by hand, just like what I experienced. And second is there was a trade-off. Like there could be scripted systems, but they were super rigid. Like basically you just whatever you ask, it's gonna provide you the same answer. But adaptive ones were more flexible. But it's really unreliable. And also third is testing with humans was tough because test only demos missed the things like interruptions or like when things going off topic. And also finally, the evaluation was ad hoc because there's no like clear metric or more systematic way to check if a system worked. So here in this project, we present 3 stage workflow, which is authoring workflow, authoring stage and testing stage and also verification stage, so that you can not only like defining those what kind of conversation you would like, but also you can test it with a real-time simulation without any human participant. So for the authoring group dynamics, like take a poster presentation as an example, there might be 2 subgroups like a presenter group and the audience group, in which we name parties here that defines different roles and hierarchies. And within each parties, there might be a mixture of humans and AI agents. And furthermore, there might be some content attached to, like the presenter party might have a poster or slides to be shared with the whole group. And here comes the interface is first, the user can drag and drop those avatars into this scene panel. So this defines like the avatars, the parties, and the contents. User can then assign those parties with the drag down menu. Like since Davey is presenting this poster, so a paper was uploaded and attached with him here. And now that these parties are assigned, we look at how they interact. So Davey presents this poster and the audience party may join the discussion and ask questions. And here we enable this party mode for designers to define how the parties were selected. And the first option is like free mode, which in this mode, once a party is selected, everyone in the party can speak right away. And you can imagine it like a small group conversation where the audience can ask at any moment and the presenter would respond naturally without needing formal rules. And now in contrast, in larger meetings, turn-taking are usually more regulated. That's why we have like a moderator mode where a party-like presenter, Alice here, can take the role of moderator. And this moderator can decide like who speaks next. And other party members can signal that they are ready to contribute by raising their hand. And then the moderator choose which member to get the floor and which will take Jane's hands off. So these speaking turns and system messages will also be shown on the preview chat panel around who's raising the hand and which speaker the moderator approves. So I will show you a video where Alice just approved Jane to talk. Let me check this video. Okay. Okay, this seems to be not playing. So basically what's happening here is like you can also look at later around this demo video is that this person, some person will raise their hand and the rest of person would, like Alice would approve someone to kind of take their hands off and then they will ask some questions or like adding some points to like the previous presentation, and then Alice will also kind of take some other person's hands off. So yeah. And after a party is chosen to speak, we can also decide how its members contribute within this party. Like in natural conversations, not all of us will speak or raise our hands. So by controlling this speaking mode, we enable a few options. For example, for audience group, everyone can talk together, or one representative can speak for the whole group, or only a selected subset can join in. So by default, we set this to be random mode. And this also defines how many participants will raise their hands in the moderated mode too. So aside from this party mode, some conversations, so this is also not played. Okay, so some conversations, they can be more equally contributed without subgroups and parties like lunch. And all these scenes are saved in this library. So users can easily reopen and edit them later. So maybe I will reshare this slide so that we can probably see some of those videos. Give me a sec. Okay. Okay, let me quickly move to this. Video. Okay. Thanks, Alex. Okay, let me share the screen. All right, so we can probably preview this audio again. Alex. It seems like LLMs could both displace some roles involving repetitive tasks, but also create new opportunities for people who can effectively use and manage these tools. So I skipped the rest of Jane's talk, but Alice will then reply to Jane.
Jane, and I agree that the balance between displacement and new opportunities is the key question. David, what are your thoughts on this?
Thanks, Alice. I think Jane is right, and it's not just about new jobs.
So I skipped the rest of message from David, but as you can see, like once Alice opens this floor, others will raise their hand and then Alice will approve by taking their hands off. So let's go into this, this part of conversation design. So aside from party mode, some conversations can be more equally contributed by subgroups, like parties, like a lunch. And also, like all scenes can be saved. So in brief, this authoring stage helps us to define like dynamic group dynamics and also types. Or what about like the conversation flow dynamics, like how the turn flows? So conversation move across phases. For example, it starts from a quick catch up to debate and to reach consensus. So each phase can have a short snippet like a casual chat, debate, round, or resolution. And within each snippet, the dialogue can unfold like turn by turn, with human and AI taking turns. And these turns may lean disagreeable or more disagreeable, capturing this dynamic of real group conversations. So back to this interface, saved scenes, they can also be dragged into this conversation panel for shaping the conversation flow dynamics, which will appear as those like short snippets that can be selected for setting up some conversation flow on the inspector to the right. And as you can see in this video, the user first like stage those scenes as snippets, and this then opens the write inspector for setting up those flows. And each snippet represents a phase, like moving from presenting like a HCI paper to dining chat about hiking plans. So the main components here for conversation flow parameters can be the user can also set up the topic and also the turn numbers and interaction patterns for each snippet. And the user can then connect those snippets together to form a full dialogue. And this allows that designers to kind of mimic the real world conversation flows and experiment with variations. And in short, users can define roles in the conversation flow and snippet across those different phases in turn taking. But this static authoring isn't enough because real conversation can be unpredictable. So that's why here we add a testing state that replay these conversations live. And designers can test in real human mode by stepping themselves, or they can use a simulated human mode with AI agents that can interrupt, can shift topic, or react emotionally. So designers can then jump in any moments that make it possible to test the designs without needing extra participants. So here, when the simulated human mode is initiated, suggestion of those messages can be previewed here through this audit panel here. And also in this mode, users can look at those suggested messages and they can tweak the intent within the drop-down menu here and edit them directly or adjust to dismiss them. And finally, we have a verification stage where users can export the conversation and they can like review this conversation dynamics with more advanced visualizations, and they can run conversation multiple times to check the variation. So this system can be applied into like multiple domains here. First, it can help conversation practice and immersive learning for students or professionals to rehearse meetings, interviews, or presentations. And second, it can help writers or game designers to explore character dynamics and test dialogue flow. And finally, it can be valuable for like social science researchers who can design more controlled studies of group dynamics. So it has a study, but I will skip it for here, but directly drop to some results where we found that Dialog Lab supports more diverse group dynamics, configuring roles and parties and turn-taking beyond one-on-one tools, and also the way for like human simulation through that testing mode, that human control enables deeper engagement and testing. And we also treat conversation as a design material, snippets and testing and verification to enable more fast iteration and stress testing. And finally, we also found the need for improvements for richer cues and gestures and tone, and needs for more adaptable verification across education design and research. So I'm also thinking about some other like plans of this project. So, because originally we were thinking about simulating like multiple people with different personality and different roles. Like for example, if you attend like an interview with a group of interviewers, or like there's another way which because I've been chatting with the GPT voice mode for a long time, I'm thinking about because when I'm chatting with it, I ask it to play a role of somebody. But I can keep like sending requests to it. Like I say, can you become more critical, or like I can just do it verbally. But in this dialogue lab example, it feels like because we shape it to be more for experts to design systems. So in that case, I feel it can be kind of less customizable or like harder for generic users to use it. So that's one part of the discussion. And another part is, give me a sec for switching back. So another part is, I'm also thinking about more factors of environment, because originally we designed this system with like, more of like a with environment, with some spatial things involved, because the space will also shape how we interact with others. So we are thinking about still like bringing these factors of environment back to rethink how people create conversations. Yeah, so that's basically like the all the works I'm sharing today. Yeah, so I also welcome questions.